Hey everyone, let's go ahead and get started with LinkedIn Profile Scraper in Python using LLM. This is going to be very impactful section. In this section, I'll be showing you how you can parse LinkedIn data using LLM. You will be getting a final output something like this. So where you will be getting a JSON data. In that JSON data, these information will be managed. I'll be showing you how you can automate this overall process. So here you see that these overall things are automated here. I'll be showing you how you can use their Selenium and BeautifulSoup tool to automate this overall process. You will be logging into your LinkedIn profile automatically through the code, and your browser action will be controlled by the Selenium, and then you can get the source from here, and thereafter we'll be using their LLM to get the data something like this. So we'll start here with the Selenium tools where we will be logging here with our LinkedIn profile. Thereafter we will be parsing this particular profile, and thereafter I'll be showing you here some the tricks that how to get the correct output from the LinkedIn profile. Then there is the text cleaning and then removing some duplicates, and thereafter finally we reach at the stage where we can get started with the LLM. Then in the LLM, we will first of all do here some initial works, like we will first of all parse our data section wise. So we have here so many sections, like we have our highlight, about, feature, activity. All these sections we need to parse one by one. Once those sections are parsed there, then we can actually combine all those informations together. All right, so what I do here, I actually write a code here, so to combine through the second level of the LLM call, and then finally I ask my LLM to extract only these information from the given information, and then our LLM will be extracting information something like this. You can compare its output with my actual profile here, and you will notice that all of these things are matching something like this here, which you see there. All right, so you see that how beautiful tool is this overall Selenium and LLM. The power of Selenium and LLM, if you combine together, you can get something like this, where you have automated tool and behind the scene you can use their LLM, and then finally you can parse any site data, not just LinkedIn, but let's say the job profiles, job posting on Indeed or Naukri or LinkedIn, or any other site where it needs, like the password and authentication. Then you can use their Selenium tool to do all of these things. I hope that this is going to be a very good section for you. A lot of learning is going to come in this section. Let's go ahead and get started with introduction and the coding part of this lesson. I mean this section. I'll see you then. Hey everyone, let's go ahead and get started with LinkedIn Profile Scraper in Python using LLM. Previously, I have shown you one example where we have scraped our stock market data and thereafter we had generated a market report. But LinkedIn profile scrapping is a little bit different, in which you have to provide here email and password. If you do not provide here email and the password, then you will not be able to see the content there. So you have to have there some, validation stuff. And to validate our user ID and password, we have to use here additional tool like Selenium. So we'll be using that tool. So what I'm saying here, let's say you are given here with the LinkedIn. So if you try to open this, some link here, let me just open here in incognito. If you try to open this link, you will not be able to see this particular link. LinkedIn will ask you to log in, otherwise that data is not available. And if you try to parse this particular data, then obviously you will not be able to see the profile data. So if you want to see the profile data, then obviously you have to sign in here. All right. Once you sign in, thereafter you will be getting a page something like this. All right. Once you get a page something like this, then whatever inside this div, all right. So this div, whatever you see here, so this is profile data. All right. And other than this div, whatever you see outside, that is not the profile data. For example, what you see here at the right side on this sidebar, these are not a profile data. All right. So you have to make sure that when you get the data from this page, you need to make sure that you get the data only on these, div here. So these are HTML div, and these HTML div need to be ignored here. Otherwise your LLM will get confused here. Why we are doing here with the LLM? Because if you do this with the traditional way, then the traditional way creates a lot of problem, although I have already made a video here, so the link is provided, and in this I have shown how you can scrape LinkedIn profile without using LLM. So that is like the classical way. If you are interested going in that way, you can obviously go and watch that. So as I told you that we will be using here Selenium tool to identify that these divs. All right, so you might be wondering that what I'm saying div. All right, so div is HTML tag actually. So you need to see here inspect. All right, right click and then inspect it. So what you see here, these containers, right? So these containers are inside a div here. All right, so there you see there, this is div, and there is the section. All right, so this div, what you see there, this is a kind of, the division or something like that. You can say that, or a divider in HTML. And these div decide that, okay, which section we are talking about. So you see there, the first one is this section, and here second div, we are talking about this one. If you go and try to read these data div by div, like in a classical way, then what happened? What you see, these class name, right? So these numbers are randomly generated, and these numbers, these number get changed. So when these number get changed, then your code will stop working. So to solve this problem, what I have identified here, that we can actually use here LLM. So if you use LLM, you can actually remove those problem. All right, so we will not be dealing with any of these class names. What we will do, we will read directly this main container. All right, so once you read this main container, you can find out everything inside this main container, right? So if you put your cursor here, thereafter you can see this whole highlight. Let me just put it here, at the side, and thereafter you can see the whole content. Let me just do it something like this, and here you have your main, right? So this is your main, and once you put it on main, you would be able to see this everything, right? Just scroll it here at the down, and even that you will see here, right? So till this point you have got everything. That means whatever content inside this main, if you get this content, then you will be able to get the profile data. All right, and then you can ignore these data because these data are not important here. So this is something which you need to understand. It is very important. And one more thing I should tell you, so this might be a little bit complicated to you if you are just like, I mean, looking for only the LLM kind of things. If you do not have any programming background or much of the programming background, then obviously I can understand that this could be a little bit difficult. If you are not able to follow this, don't worry about that. Okay, you can just go and watch this full video and full section and just try to understand that what I'm doing, so that tomorrow if something like this comes up to you, you should be able to understand that what is going on there. All right, perfect. So in the next lesson, I'll show you what are the tools we have here which can be used to get these data. All right, I'll see you then. All right, so as I told you that here we will be using Selenium and BeautifulSoup to get these data. Let's go ahead and see what are those tools. So here is Selenium. So this tool we will be using here. You need to come here in the document. So once you come here in the document, then you can see details about the Selenium. All right, and then you can come here in the control flow. Not this one. It's not the Selenium IDE. All right, so you need to come here at the selenium.dev. Here, then come to the documentation. Now you can see that this says that the Selenium browser automation project. All right, so this automate overall process. What you see here, basically this provides you a kind of, the tool so that you can log into your profile, whatever profile you want to parse, and thereafter it can also scroll for you if it is needed. Otherwise it is perfectly fine. All right, then it has here a web driver. So this has a web driver for all major web browsers like Chrome, like Mozilla Firefox or the Microsoft Edge. So all of these web browsers you can use properly. Here is the driver session. Basically how this starts, you need to get here a driver, okay, through the browser, and then you just need to provide there .get, and then you need to give here the address. Based on that, it will be able to load a particular website. Basically this LinkedIn profile, only you need to write this, it will be able to load that particular site. Other than that, if you want to obviously quit it, so you can use that. If you want to utilize any browser option, so you can utilize the browser options. Let's say you are using the Chrome, so you can see that here webdriver.chrome options, and thereafter if you want to perform any browser level actions, then obviously you can perform those browser level action. Here in the browsers you can see here all type of the browsers supported by Selenium. Then here is the tool. This is important. Let's say you want to upload a file, then you can use this to upload a file through the code. Basically, let's say you are visiting any site which needs to upload the file, then this kind of code you can use to upload the file. We are looking for here a Python code. Thereafter, if we want to locate a particular ID or the class name, so this is something like you can use to locate that. Alright, here you see the driver dot find element by class name and information. So basically what happened here, whatever the division you see here, these dividers, they have the class here. If you want to select any of these, div section, then you can use these kind of things here. All right, and here it says that okay, it will actually find element by its class name and wherever information is written. In our case, let's say you want to identify this particular div, then at that time you will say I want to identify div by a class name, and that class name is going to be this one. This is very important, right? Why this is important? Because by the time you are watching this video, do remember, it's not guarantee that this video is going to work for you 100%, right? So it's not guarantee. Why it's not guarantee? Because what you see, these class names, so these class names are automatically generated, so there is high chance that by the time you watch this video, these class name might get changed. But we don't care if internal class name gets changed. What we care about, we mainly care about the main section, right? So we had somewhere main section, that section I'm trying to identify. Where is that section? Somewhere we had here main section, see here. So this class name is important for us. So you always make sure that you need to come to this main section. Once you have this class name, thereafter everything will work in this section. Don't worry about that. Even internally, if these things gets changed, don't worry about that. We are not gonna use those things in any way. Only other things we will be using, that is here, this one. These are the class name, right, for the section. So this is two things you have to always remember. For main divisor, for main section, you have to make sure that you get a correct class name, and similarly for the section divider, you have to get here the correct class name. So this is the two things you have to always remember. Other than that, in the Selenium, you have so many options which you can use. Like there is the interaction options, like you can get the title, the current URL, you can get that. And thereafter cookies, frame, print page, there are so many things, right? So there is basically, if we want to cover this Selenium, then obviously we have to make another course to cover everything about the Selenium. But whatever you need, a bare minimum, those things I'll be teaching you in this section. Other than this Selenium, we will be needing here a BeautifulSoup library. So this BeautifulSoup library is actually HTML parser library. So this library will be used to parse our data. So data which you see here, these data, right? So these data are currently written in HTML data. We need to get text data, a data something like this, right? So we will be using here for that a BeautifulSoup here. So it's a BeautifulSoup 4, it is known as, and it comes by that name. You need to install it like pip install BeautifulSoup. Thereafter, let's say you have HTML document, something like this, then it's a pretty much simple. You can use this something like that to prettify it. Otherwise, you can just simply use their like soup title name, the title string, or get text, or any other element if you want to select. So these things we can do with the beautiful soup. And finally, if you just want to get all the text data, then you can use soup.getTxt, and the soup is object of the beautiful soup. So this particular thing we will be using here later on once we come to our profile and we want to get all the data from this main section. Then we will be using their beautiful soup dot get text. All right, I hope that this is pretty much clear to you. Now in the next lesson I'll show you how you can get started with coding. I'll see you then. Hey everyone, let's go ahead and get started with the coding part. So first of all, we write each line of the code so that we can filter out all the warning if it is needed. And thereafter, this is something which is important. Here we have our environment variables, which we are loading here. Other than that, one more thing I want to tell you here, that you have to provide your LinkedIn username and the password in this environment variable. So I have already provided those username and the password. Here I have my email and there is my password. All right, using these email and the password, I will be logging to my LinkedIn profile. Only thereafter I would be able to see others profile. All right, so this is something which you have to use for your own LinkedIn profile. Once you have that, thereafter you can visit other profiles and you can scrap the data from other profile. And another thing, always do remember, sometimes LinkedIn blocks the profile, or the blocks the way you scrap. So always make sure that you do not hit their limits. They do not have any standard limit, but generally 50 to 100. If you try to do more than 50 to 100 in a day, then generally they do impose a kind of some kind of the ban, or like that temporary ban. All right, but it's a kind of the educational purpose, so you can follow without any issue. I don't think that there would be any problem. Other than that, you might be wondering that why I have kept this in the half. You will understand that after some time, because I would be putting here my LinkedIn profile. So that's why I had placed it as like the half a screen. Other than that, here you will be seeing here one of my YouTube video. So in this YouTube video, you can find out that a classical way to scrap the LinkedIn profile. All right, so here I have shown that how you can scrap the LinkedIn profile, and then I'll be showing you how you can scrap that profile and you will be getting a data, right? I mean, in like a JSON data kind of things. Here you see there, it's like this, right? A JSON kind of things you will be getting in the classical way. But getting data something like this is really hard if you use here LLM. So what we will be doing there, we will be getting a data, important data like name, URL, headline, about, experience, but not like this JSON profile. But mostly we'll be getting the data like where someone can, understand about the profile. All right. Now let's come back to our code here. So I assume that you have provided your LinkedIn profile password and the username. Thereafter, you need to load this. I also filter out all the warning. Now I'm going to add here some cell, and now I'll be showing you how you can get started with the Selenium part. All right, so for the Selenium, what you have to do here, there is a requirements.txt file. So inside this particular section, there is a requirements.txt file. You have to actually use and install these there, right? So this is something which we have installed previously. You have to also install Selenium and Beautiful Soup 4. So once you have installed these two, then you can get started with the coding part. All right, so for the coding, first of all, we need to import here our beautiful soup and wave driver from the Selenium. So I write here from bs4 import beautiful soup, and then from Selenium, I need to import here wave driver. All right, do you remember that this is something which we had seen during our introduction of Selenium tool? And thereafter, I also need to import one module that name is by. Why I need that, I'll tell you. So you have here Selenium dot WebDriver dot common dot by import by. If you remember here in our Selenium, when you try to identify any particular element, And to identify that element, you have to use this. For example, let's say if I use that one. So here, right? So by ID. So this particular module, you need to import that. So that is what we have imported there. All right. So these are the necessary module. Once you import these necessary module, now you can directly get your driver here. So the driver is like webdriver.chrome. With this, it will open here a Chrome web browser, right? So you have got your Chrome web browser. That is why I had actually placed my code in half of the screen. I wanted to show this particular browser here in half of the screen. And here it says that Chrome is being controlled by automated test software. Obviously, we are using here Selenium. So Selenium will be controlling functionality of this particular browser. All right. So we are going to first of all provide our LinkedIn profile. So you can write here driver dot get. Do you remember that we had seen that get earlier? So I provide here https /www dot, here you have a linkedin.com and then the login. If you just do this, it will load this particular page. Now you see that it is automated here, right? So it has loaded this particular page. Once it is loaded, now through this code, you can fill here email. Also, you can fill here a password, and thereafter you can click on sign in using this software itself. You don't need to click here sign in by your mouse. You can use the software, that's the Selenium software itself. So we will be controlling all the functionality of this web browser through the code. All right, perfect. So this is all about in this lesson. In next lesson, I'll show you how you can put email and the password, and then how you can log in finally to your LinkedIn profile. I'll see you then. All right, so we have got our login page. Now we need to put our password inside this email and the password section. So let me just show you a couple of things here. Let's say you want to get the title. So you can just simply write there the driver dot title. With this, you can see the title. So whatever is printed here, that is the title. So it says that, okay, LinkedIn login, sign in, LinkedIn, etc. you can get. Now we are going to first of all find out this email section and also the password section. So we have to go here in inspect mode. In inspect mode, I'll show you here. So you need to put your cursor here. In the cursor, it says that ID is username. Basically, we have to identify here element by its ID, and the ID is their username, and that is this one. All right. And similarly, you have there another ID that should be the password for this one. If you check here, that is the password here, right? So input ID is the password. So we need to get these elements by their ID. So we have got that. How to do that now? Basically, you can say that here is the email element equal to the driver dot find by element and then by ID, and it's the username. And that's how you get the username. Thereafter, you have to send your LinkedIn email. We have already provided our LinkedIn here in environment variable, and that is here like email. So what you need to do here, get environment variable. So this will make sure that we get those environment variable here in the runtime, and that is how it will put the email here. Now you can see here the email has automatically placed here. Similarly, we have to do for our password. So I can say here password equal to driver dot find element by ID, and that is going to be the password. And then the password dot send keys. So what you see here, send keys, whatever you put here, that will actually put inside this. So here is the password, and then you just simply run this. Now you can see here a password. This is same password what we had here, right? You compare, this is exactly the same password. Once you have these, thereafter you can simply submit this. All right. So I can just write here password dot submit. With this, it is going to log in here automatically. If you log in the first time, it might ask you a code. So you need to enter that code so that it can make sure that there is no robot working on this. That is one time process. Now you have logged into your profile. Once you have logged into your profile, now we need to scrap some website. Just to make sure that you do not make any error or not make any mistake, what I'll do here, I'll provide a specific URL so that you can follow this tutorial and you will not get any error. Alright, so I already have that URL, so I'm just going to copy that URL and paste here. So here it is. Also make sure that you follow only this particular URL, at least for following this video, because this is a little bit, the critical task. And LinkedIn keep changing these structures. So you have to make sure that at least you learn what I'm trying to teach you here, and thereafter you can try out with some other profile. All right, so we have got our URL. Let's go ahead and get to this URL. So you can just simply write here driver.get and then URL. It is going to load here this particular URL. Let me just put here at the downside. So I'm going to put here so that we can see this whole and full profile. All right, now I can see that here is profile, and I can see that this whole profile. Other than that, one more thing here, I can put my cursor here, and I can see here our main section. Where is this? Yeah, here it is, right? So this particular section code we want to get here, and this whole thing what you see here, this is actually the source code, right? This is HTML code. So we need to load this source code. Thereafter this particular section we need to get, and thereafter we can actually get these section. All right, so there are so many sections. All of these cards what you see here, these cards are actually divided here as section wise. All right, so there you have one card, here is the another card, and there are so many cards here. All right, all the sections you see there, these are actually managed by here cards here. So these cards actually gets populated here dynamically in LinkedIn. So we need to later on read these cards one by one, and then we will be summarizing these cards using our LLM. Other than that, one more thing I should tell you here. This time, I mean, in this section, we will not be going inside these things like clicking a particular link and then going inside and then doing the scrapping in that side. So that thing we will be not covering in this section code. But if you really want to understand those things, then obviously I have already provided here a link. So you can go and follow this link. In this link, I have completely covered how you can scrap a LinkedIn profile using a classical way. All right, I hope that this was helpful to you. In next lesson, I'll show you how you can get the source code. I'll see you then. All right, let's go ahead and load the source. So this is source, and this particular thing we need to get here. It is pretty much simple and straightforward. You can just write here page source equal to the driver dot page source. All right, and thereafter if you run this, you can get here a page source. And this is going to be a very large page source. If you just copy this whole thing, you need to do here a triple click. With this you will copy there everything. I'm just trying to get, if I can get here everything. Seems like I'm not able to get. Okay, I got this. Now you can come here at the chat GPT. Let's log into chat GPT and try to parse the information and then see what happened. Okay, let's say I say here summarize below details. You will see here, something, cool. Well, this is something I wanted to show you, right? Why? Because this whole data what you see there na, so this is quite large data, and even the chat GPT cannot parse this data in one go. Otherwise this overall LinkedIn profile scraping things was not needed at all. What was needed there, let's say if chat GPT was able to parse this data, then what was needed to do here, we were needed only to get the source code, what I mean the source, and then just call the chat GPT or any LLM to get the details. We never needed to go here section wise, right? Because this data is a huge, only because of that we have to apply here some kind of the pre-processing before we apply LLM, because LLM is not something like a magic. It can't do without help. We have to provide some help to the LLM so that LLM can handle data, we have to make sure that it gets their relevant data only and a small chunk of the data in one go, so that it can make its own understanding on that particular data, and then finally it can extract the relevant data. All right, I hope that now this is clear to you why we just can't use this whole thing with the LLM. Now I write here soup equal to beautiful soup, and inside that I pass my page source, and then this is going to be the parser. So this parser says that okay, the data what we are passing here, that is the HTML data. All right, that's all you have to do. This is one way to do this, or there is another way, like you can also pass here LXML as well. So in both way it is perfectly fine without any issue. Now you can see here, now the soup has converted this as a soup object. Now in this soup object you can see this whole data again. It's the same data actually, it's just another object. This time we are having here it as the soup object. All right, a beautiful soup object. Once you have this a beautiful soup object, then you can just simply call here a get text. With this you can get here a whole text data, right? Do you see here this whole text data you have got? Even though if you copy this whole text data from here and you try to paste this in the chat GPT, even after that the chat GPT will throw the error that this is a huge data, right? So getting the text data is again not like, sufficient here. Like here you have Lakshmi Khan and so many other stuff. All right, so again this is creating here a problem. We just can't use some raw data with our LLM. We have to do here some pre-processing. All right, that is why I told you that you have to get the data section wise. All right, and now we have converted our page source HTML data as a beautiful soup. Now I can apply here a soup related methods to parse our data. So as I told you, we will be getting first of all main section. So this particular section, and here is the class name. Again, I'm telling you this is very important. By the time you are watching video, this might get changed. So always make sure that you get correct class name. All right, so I just copy this whole class name from here. This we will be needing here. So what I write here, I say that okay, here is my profile data, and then I write here soup dot not select find, and in the find I say that you need to find the main section by its class name, and class name I have here this one. If you do like this, now you have your profile actually here. All right, this is your profile, and on the profile you can now do here get text. So on profile, if you do here get text, now you will notice here a lot of meaningful data you are getting. Instead, we were getting a lot of useless data when we had actually used this directly on a whole data. You see, all these data are not in these data are not there in our current output, right? So these things are changed, right, in current output our, and it is also giving here some other names as well, right? These peoples are shown there in the side way, right? So these peoples are also getting if we don't get our data using this particular method. So current data what I'm seeing here, this is completely related to me only, this whole thing. All right, here you see, and also there is a lot of new line and there are so many things here, but still whatever I see here, this everything is related to me only. All right, this whole thing you see here, everything. Other than that, one more thing I want to show you here, that if you notice here, the two things are happening here. I mean, same words are getting repeated multiple times. Why this is happening? Because in LinkedIn what happened, one text is shown to us at the front end and there is another text that is visually hidden. That is why these two things are coming to us here. So we have to also make sure that these things which is getting duplicated, these things we have to also process using code as well. All right, so those things we will go in detail in next lesson. I'll see you then. All right, so we have seen here all of these things, but again, this is quite large data. So what I need to do here, I need to divide these data section wise, right? So what I'll be doing here, I'll be actually getting the data section wise. So what you see here, these are the individual section. Once we get the data from the individual section, then we can actually apply our code on these individual sections. I mean, we can apply our LLM code on these individual section. All right, so what I do here, first of all, I have to actually comment this, otherwise it is going to put a lot of space there. I mean, it's gonna take a lot of space if I don't do that. Let's go ahead and get the sections. So like I got these particular things, in the same way we can get the section as well. Now I can write here from the profile, I need to get all section. That is why I say here find all, and I need to get all section, and then I have to define here what is the class name for those section. This is something again which is important to you. You have to make sure that you get a correct class name here, otherwise it will throw either error or it will not give you the correct output. So this is completely on LinkedIn, so sometimes LinkedIn keep changing these things, so you have to make sure that you get the correct thing here. So this particular class I'm going to get here, this art deco card, that is the class name, and that class name I'm gonna get here. All right, let's go ahead and run this and then see how many sections are there. If you notice here, we have got here a 17 section total, right? So the data of 17 section, now we have got all of these things. If you count, you must be having here at least 17 section. All right, so all these cards, what you see here, you might have also got there, as small sections as well, where we don't have much of the information. Even you might have got those as well, like here the language, interest, course, everything, right? So there are 17 section. Now we can get the text data from these sections individually. Like we got text data here. Now we can get the individual text data from each of these sections. Once you get data from each of these sections individually, then we can apply those to the LLM so that LLM would be able to identify it correctly. I'll show you. Okay, once you have this one, then you can get the sections text data. So you can write here sections text is equal to, it is going to be something like this. So you are going to iterate over each of the section inside these sections, that is 17. Let me just show you here. It is something like this. All right, so each of the sections you have there, then from each of those sections we are going to get the text data. Thereafter, if you check here this sections text data, you will notice here these are individual text data. 17 lines are there, but you can see here these are individual. Other than that, one more thing you notice here, there are so many new lines, a lot of new lines here. So these new lines need to be actually handled here. Other than that, a lot of things now you can see here, these things are properly managed here. If you copy something, let's say I want to copy this thing from here, and then I go back to ChatGPT and I paste it here, and then I say that here, summarize this. It should be able to summarize this now, because we are giving here small data. All right, let's say if I say that this is LinkedIn profile, let's say this is LinkedIn profile data, you need to get the important data. All right, so here you see there, like it say here, this, all of these informations are there. Other than that, let me just show you here. If I just copy this about and I put that about here, and then see what happened here, then I just paste here, it says here, all right, all of these things here. Cool. All right, see here how beautiful is this. By dividing our text data into a smaller sections, now we are able to apply LLM on these. Currently I'm checking here with the chat GPT, but later on I'll be showing you how you can apply your own LLM like Ollama and Llama or any other LLM, whatever you have hosted, those LLM you can use here. All right, perfect. Cool. So these new lines also need to be removed. These things we will do in next lesson. I'll see you then. So to clean these new lines, we have to use here regex function. So I have already written that regex function. So I'm just gonna copy that and I'm gonna paste it here, and then I'll explain you what is happening here. So in the regex, what happened here, this is going to clean the text data. This is my method. And this thing is going to take all the new lines, all the running new lines, and that is going to be replaced here with single new line. And this one is going to take all the tabs there. If we have tabs there in between, it's going to replace those with a single tab. This one is going to take one tab and so many white spaces that will get replaced with one space. This one is going to take here all the new line and all the white spaces together. Something like this, what you see here, like this, it's going to take, or like this, it's going to take, and then it will replace that with single new line. Let's go ahead and run this. And thereafter, I need to apply here our sections text. I need to apply this method here. So for section and section text, we are applying in this text data, and then it is going to pass through this clean text. Let's run this and this. Now if you check your section text, it should be clean here, right? Now you see there how clean is this. This overall thing is quite clean. Once it is clean, now if you copy this whole thing from here, now I assume that you should be able to get here a meaningful response from the ChatGPT. Even after that it is not able to tell you, then obviously if ChatGPT is not able to tell you this, then obviously if you use a smaller version LLM like Llama, Pi 3 or any other, then those won't be able to tell you correct answers. Alright, so we have to do all these things here section wise. So we have to take this data first, and then this data, and this data. But before we move there, we have to also make sure that we actually get rid of this one. So you will see here it is same thing happening with this one, and here it's happening, not there, but here it's happening here. So what we will do here, now we will take these things line by line, and then we will divide these through the line, and then we will iterate over these codes one by one, and then we will identify that if it is palindrome kind of things, then we have to remove those. Or if it is not palindrome, even though if it's like a duplicated actually, then in that case we have to actually remove this. Not a palindrome, but it's a duplicate, right? So we have to remove this here. All right. So to remove this duplicate, what I have done here, I have already written the code. So let me just quickly copy that and paste it here for you, and then I'll explain you. So what happened here, it first actually break down these data into the new lines. So here you get a lines for this individual data, actually individual row. Now you have get here a multiple line. You get a multiple line actually. So how you can do this? Actually, if you print here sections text data, let's say the first one, now you see here a lot of things here. So we get the first of all first line, and thereafter we actually break down and then we iterate over these. So in the first one it don't have that much, but in second one you will notice this highlight is there, so that is creating a problem, and this one is also creating problem. So this is something which you have to make sure that we correct it here. Thereafter we iterate over lines, and then we make sure that if half of the data is equal to the other half of the data, then in that case we take only half of the data. If half of the data is not equal to other half of the data, that means that is actual data. For example, let's say this one, half of this one is equal to other half, and this don't have anything like that. Like if you divide it on half of here, then this is not equal to that. So basically it says that okay, this is actual data, I mean correct data. In that case I don't do anything, but in this case I actually take only half of the data. That is how it works. Now you have removed duplicates. Thereafter you can actually get your final sections text data here. So you write it here something like this, and then you just run this. Now if you print your sections text data, let's say the first one, that's the second one, now you don't have that highlights multiple times, right? And other things you also don't have. So basically now you have your clean data. Once you have your clean data, now you are ready to apply this clean data on LLM. Now if you check here this thing, if you copy this clean data, and let's see if it is, I mean if ChatGPT is able to parse this, seems like ChatGPT is able to accept this data, but still it says that this is actually the too large, it cannot do this. But if we take this one by one, all right, I have to actually get new here. But if I take these one by one, then obviously it will be able to do that. So that will not be the case for the ChatGPT. All right. So we have got our here text data. Now we can apply the LLM on this to get our final data. I mean, now we can apply here LLM to get our parsed data. So in next lesson, I'll show you how you can apply here LLM. I'll see you then. All right, now we have reached at the stage where we can start with our LLM code. So I have already written some predefined code, so I'm just going to copy those because those things are getting replaced, multiple times. Previously, we have seen so many times. So this is something which we have seen so many times. And another thing, now we do not need this thing. So for now, what I do here, I'm just going to make sure that it goes here in full screen. So we have our chat Ollama, system message prompt template, and so many other stuff. So this is something which we have been doing so many times. I'm sure you must be, quite comfortable with these things by now. And that's all. I just run this. And thereafter, one thing I want to just show you here, that what I have done here, I have here LLM. All right. And there is my model here. All right. So this model goes here with the chat Ollama. Here is the base URL and there is the LLM. And here is my system message. So in system message, I tell to my model that you are helpful AI assistant who answer LinkedIn profile parsing related user question based on the provided profile text data. And then I have written here a function def ask LLM. Inside this, I pass a prompt. So this is a prompt which actually I will be building it later on. All right, specifically that is why I kept this as a parameter for my function. And then I prepare this as human message prompt template. Thereafter, I put this with the system message and then I get my final chat prompt template. Thereafter, I prepare here a chain and here is final output. Since I will be providing this prompt as a whole string data, so I will not need any input parameter here, because I'm not providing here any input variable in runtime. So this will come as a pure string data, something like this. So if there is no placeholder, then obviously we don't need to pass any key here. All right. Now I hope that this is pretty much clear to you. Now if you just pass your prompt here, let's say you just say that ask LLM and just you say that hello, let's say. Right, it should just answer you, right? It is just a pure LLM kind of things, right? Where the system message is going and it is going to answer you. Hello, how can I assist you? And so on. All right. Cool. Now this is going to here super, helpful, but you have to understand this properly. So here you have your section text. In section text, what happened here? First of all, you see here, this first thing what you see there, that is actually about the section other than the first one. So the first one is about the name and the headline. Thereafter, you have here highlight, about, feature, activity, experience, education, license, everything, right? So this is something we have to actually extract from this whole thing. And thereafter, we have to also put their additional key like name and headline for the first line. Let's go ahead and first of all try to test our LLM and then see if our LLM is able to identify the result. I mean, if it is able to get the output. So what I do here, first of all, this thing I'm going to set here as the context. So I say here that that thing is going to be my context. So I write here, it is going to be my context. So I say here sections text 0, that is my, let's say, context. And out of this context, what I want to get here, I want to get here a key and the key name is going to be here name and headline. All right, so this is key what I want to get from this particular context. So for that part, I have to write here a template. So I have already pre-written a template. I just want to show you that template. So I'm going to put that template here at the up of this. So here is a template. It says that extract and return the requested information from the LinkedIn profile data in concise point-to-point format up to 5 points. Avoid preamble or any additional context. Here is going to be the LinkedIn profile data. That is actually the context. And then extract key, right? So the key is going to be the name and headline. So it will say that extract name and headline from this particular text data. Limiting the output to 5 points, provide only the necessary details. Remember, it is LinkedIn profile data and then extracted data. So this is our template. Inside this template, now we can actually, since we have not passed here any input placeholder, so we have to use here string formatting method. So what I do here, I do string formatting method here. So I can say that here, this is my template. Then here is going to be my prompt is equal to the template dot format. The first thing I pass my context and the second thing I pass my key. Now I have my prompt ready here. Now this prompt I can pass to ask LLM and then ask LLM will produce here the answer. I write like this and then I say that okay, this is going to be my response. Once you get that, and then you can finally print your response here. So I'm just going to print my response and then I just run this. Here it says that hello, I'm here to help you, question anything, right? LinkedIn profile, what is specific? Oh, not hello, I'm sorry. I actually needed to pass here prompt. Thereafter, I need to print this response. Now you can clearly see that it has actually got Lakshmikant and these information from there. But still you feel that it is not 100% correct, right? Because in context, we have a lot of information here. We have so much information, but it's not able to identify all these information. It just got, some of the, only the some information out of this. Why this is happening? It is happening because of the model. So this model, what we are using here, this model is not able to handle these kind of the technical data. At initial stage, like smaller summary, like some talk summary or some conversation summary or some natural language text generation, for those kind of things, llama smaller models are okay. But something like this where it need to do some parsing, it need to understand the text structure, etc. Llama 3.2 or Llama 3 billion model or any 2 to 3 billion model as of now, by the time I'm making this video, is not good model. They don't have that much of the power. So what is solution for this? The solution is changing the model. So we will change this model later on. I'll show you how you can change this model and you can use some powerful model. All right, those things we will cover in coming lessons. I'll see you then. All right, so I have shown you previously some limits of the llama model or any small language model. So these are the limits. For now, just assume that this is correct and move ahead. Later on, I'll show you how you can change the model. So the first of all things here, now you know here that how this overall thing work. So let's go ahead and do this for our whole sections. So you have all the sections here. Let's go ahead and do this for all the section. So before we do for all section, we have to prepare here a section keys. So we have not prepared our section keys as of now. Section text is okay, but keys are these, right? So what we want to fetch, that information we have to provide. So section keys, the code for section keys I have already written. So let me just paste it here. So the first thing, I start with name and headline because here name and headline is not present. Thereafter, all the sections you have there. So I just run this here. Now you can see here all of these things are there. So this is section key. For all the section key, you have sections text data, and here you have all the section. And then let me just run this again. That is fine. No issue with this. This is giving some error. I need to identify that why this error is coming here. So if I just print this section, I see this whole thing. I don't see any problem with this. So if that is the case, then I should be getting here some information, but that is not coming. Okay, this part is empty. It is empty because we have actually not provided their strip, right? So we have to provide their strip, then we can get it something like this. Now if I just remove this, I can provide here a strip. All right, now I have name, headline, highlight, about, featured, activity, all of these things I have got here. So once you get this section key and also your section text data, these things can be combined together. All right, so if you create a zip of section key and section text, you can get the context and the key together. All right, so what I do here, I just copy this whole thing from here and then I paste it here. So you see what happened here. You have section key here, this one, and section text data. These are actually quite correlated. So the first one goes with this one, second one, that is the highlight, that goes with this one, and then about, featured, activity, all these goes one by one. All right, so the first time I say to my LLM that extract this key, that key is coming from section text, section keys here. So first I tell my LLM that extract name and headline. Next, I tell my LLM that extract highlights. Thereafter, I prepare here a dictionary. That's the response. In this responses, actually, inside this responses, I provide this response which is coming from the LLM. And here is my prompt. I format this context and the key like I had shown you previously. That prompt I pass inside this LLM and then I just simply run this. Now before I run this, I should tell you here that our current model is not able to do here good. So what we will do here, we will change this model with some larger model. All right, so I just remove that model. I'm going to use here a Queen model. Let me just show you how you can get a Queen model. So the Queen model is here, Queen 2.5. And I'm going to use here a 7 billion model. 7 million model takes space like 5 gigabyte or so. So if you have like a 6 GB GPU or more than that or high performance CPU, then Qwen 2.5 7 billion model can works there properly without any issue. So this was created by Alibaba Cloud, and I have seen that Qwen 2.5 performs a lot better than the Llama models. So you can go ahead and use this model or any other model. By the time you are watching this video, whatever the latest model and good model is available, you can use that model. Don't limit yourself just to the Llama and Qwen model. So the first of all, you have to actually pull this model in your PC so that you can get started with this. So you have to write here like, first of all, something like this. You need to pull it, right? So Ollama and then pull this model. Once this model is pulled on your PC, then you can just simply take this whole thing from here and then you come back here and then just change this model. Once you change this model, now you get here a new LLM. Thereafter, if you run this LLM, you should be able to see that it is using here Qwen model. Thereafter, if you run this, you can check the answer there. Other than that, if you come here at the LangSmith, let me just log in this LangSmith quickly. In the LangSmith, you should be able to see that it is using there a Qwen model. Since we are using here Qwen model, then obviously it is going to be a little bit slower because it has more number of the parameters. So because of that, it is going to take some time here. This is my first one. I mean the latest one. And in the latest one, you can see that where is that Qwen model? Here it is, right? So you can see we are using here a Qwen model. Earlier we used to use there a Llama model. Once you have your Qwen model, then you can just simply run this one. In fact, this we don't need to run now. There is no issue with that. This one is okay. You have to directly run this particular code. So I'm just gonna run this. We have to wait here like 5 to 6 minutes so that it can run completely. Thereafter, I'll see you in next lesson. I'll see you then. All right. So this parsing is done here section wise and everything is stored here in the responses. Let's go ahead and print these responses and see what we have got here. So we have got here now correctly name and headline. Earlier, if you remember that in our Llama model, we were not able to identify name and headline separately, but here this time it is able to identify these properly, and it has here highlights, and it has here some about section, and there are so many things. Seems like it has extracted data correctly, and it seems like it's quite good data overall. All right, let's go ahead and print this in a proper way. So if you want to print this in the proper way, what you can do here, you can just copy this from here, or you can actually import. Let me just import JSON, and thereafter I can just write this here. So I have here LinkedIn profile data. Now inside this, you can see this as a JSON data. So you have your name, thereafter you have your featured activities here, and then you have here experience, education, project, skills, recommendation, patents, courses, etc. Now the question is here that if you are not satisfied with this output, then what you can do? So you can write here another level of LLM call, and then you can tell your LLM that, okay, you need to identify these outputs only. So I have written here that, and then let me just say that here, second level of LLM call. All right, so what happened here, we have our template like this. You are provided with LinkedIn profile data in a JSON format. Parse the data according to the specified schema, correct any spelling error, and condense the information if possible. Thereafter, here I provide my LinkedIn profile data, so the data which we had just seen, and then I say that you need to get only these things. You get the name, headline, about, experience, education, skill, project, and then finally a summary. Do not return preamble or any other information. That's all. And here we replace this, because what will happen there, currently we are having their JSON data. So we will be there having their curly braces. If we don't do this, then our LangChain will expect some kind of the input. Because of that, we have to do this. Let's run this, and this response, I'm just going to comment that. So it will take a while. Once this part is done, then I can just print this response. I'll show you final output. All right, so we have got here a final response. Let's just print this response and then see what output we have got. Here it is. You see that how beautiful is this? Now you have got your response, a proper response, and this response seems quite good. So you have a name, headline, about, experience is there, some education is there, and thereafter some skills are there, and there are the projects, and there is the summary. It says that Lakshmikant is seasoned data scientist with these many of experience. He has impactful initiatives in customer behavior modeling, developed machine learning models, systems, this and that, and there are so many things. All right, so you see that how good it is. That is how you can use LLM to parse your LinkedIn profile here. Parsing LinkedIn profile data has been super difficult, and the reason is only there that LinkedIn quite frequently change their class names and overall structures. Because of that, it really becomes quite difficult and hard to parse LinkedIn profile data. But if you use something like this LLM powered tool, then you can do that without any issue. No matter, it doesn't matter how many times LinkedIn changes these things, but obviously you can get the final output, a correct output basically. All right, I hope that you have enjoyed this particular section, and please do not forget to leave your rating and write a feedback about the course. And if you have any doubt, you can ask that in the Q&A section. I will try to answer your questions as soon as possible. All right, this is all about in this lesson. I'll see you in next one.